What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network, as well as on the E! Network, as today we're talking Season 5, Episode 11, the Season 5 finale of Total Bellas, entitled Babies on Board. Now, I mistakenly thought a couple of weeks ago that the episode 10, the 10th episode of Season 5, would be the final episode of the season, because unless I'm wrong, and I'm just remembering it wrong, but I'm pretty sure they've done 10 episodes before of each season. I feel like they originally planned on doing 10 episodes. This wasn't a decision made recently, but when they were filming the show, it seemed like they were going for 10 episodes, and then Nikki found out that she was pregnant. So they dedicated an entire extra episode to finding out what the gender of the baby is, which they wasted no time in revealing to us. I don't think it was known before now. I don't follow the Bellas too closely, like their socials and the news and stuff, the gossip, whatever. But they did reveal here the gender of baby and the baby of Nikki and Artem's upcoming child, due out in July, August. I'll talk about that later. But we got 11 episodes this season. This was the final one for now. They did offer news on the 6th season at the end of the episode, which I'll get to at the end of this review. So they opened up the episode with Nikki talking about how she kept having visions of taking a pregnancy test. Now, at the end of last week's episode, Nikki did not reveal that she was pregnant. We merely found out that Brie was pregnant and that Nikki had just gotten engaged to Artem. That was all of last week's episode. When he proposed, they got engaged, blah, blah, blah. Which is why I'm thinking that that was supposed to be the grand finale. Oh, feel good, happy ending. Brie gets pregnant, and then, Nikki's engaged. Amazing. And then they threw us a curveball by finding out that Nikki's pregnant too. Now, was it planned? Was it not planned? She said it wasn't. Nikki, that is. I tend to believe that it is. Not that let's get pregnant right now. That's not really something you can plan. But I don't really think it was as unexpected as they were making it out to be, just because they dedicated the entire season to Nikki talking about, oh, should I get pregnant? Am I too old? Blah, blah, blah. And then she just so happens to get pregnant on the final episode of the season. That's a bit too coincidental. But still, it kind of felt like this episode is not what was tacked on. Not that it was unnecessary, because we did find out at the literal very beginning of the episode that Nikki was pregnant. It was almost anticlimactic, because again, they dedicated an entire episode last week to Brie getting pregnant, Nikki getting engaged, and then literally within the first minute or two of this episode, maybe not even, she's like, oh, I kept having visions of taking a pregnancy test and having a child. And then she takes the pregnancy test and she finds out she is indeed pregnant. Within literally the first 30 to 60 seconds of the episode, which is kind of funny. After literally seasons upon seasons of Total Bellas and Total Divas talking about how she may never have kids, she doesn't want to have kids. Oh, never mind, you're pregnant. You know what I mean? It seems kind of weird. But anyway, so she tells Artem that she's pregnant, and she also tells Artem in that same moment that Brie is pregnant too, and he couldn't believe it, because how could you guys get pregnant at the same time? Artem actually thinks when she shows him the pregnancy test, he thought that she was joking, and that he thought that she used Brie's pregnancy test as a joke or something, and she's like, no, she's pregnant and I'm pregnant too. What are the odds of that? Probably not too low, considering, again, if they plan this, but you can't really plan pregnancies. But they try later on. They try to get the same due date, and whether they will or not remains to be seen. But anyway, so she tells Brie about it, and she's a bit taken aback initially about Brie's reaction, and how Brie was like, oh, you were a little, skeptical to even engage this guy, let alone have a kid with him, despite meeting him and really only dating for not meeting him, because they've known each other for a few years now. But they did only just start dating, I believe, a year before this was filmed. And Nikki said, oh, I wasn't planning on this happening. So Brie was a little skeptical because she didn't want her sister to rush into anything. She's very overprotective of Nikki, she says. And Nikki's a bit disappointed that she's not happier that her fucking sister is pregnant. How could she not be? But she eventually, kind of comes around to it 6 months later, or 6 weeks later, rather. They show Nikki and Artem at the OBGYN confirming that she's pregnant. Brie admits at that point that she now realizes that she should be supporting Nikki and not, acting like a mother towards her and just being happier. She's having a kid. That's very exciting news, despite the fact it may not have been planned. Who the hell knows? But she simply wants to support Nikki. So they show Brie and Nikki comparing baby bumps, which I'm sure they've been doing a lot of over the last 9 months. Because, again, they're very in sync. Bryan brings up, Bryan Danielson, whatever. He brings up how they're always in sync. They always do everything together. So the fact they're both pregnant at the same time is almost just, it's just fitting. It's fitting for their, sisterhood and whatever, if that's, if that makes any sense. And he even says, nothing surprises me about Brie and Nikki anymore. Like, they've known each other their entire lives, and obviously because they're sisters, but the fact that they're twins and they're so in sync, the fact that they're pregnant at the same time does not surprise Bryan in the slightest. At this point, he's just come to expect stuff like that, So Artem admits at this point that, not that he's close with Birdie, but he kind of understands Birdie Joe, and he understands, he kind of connects with her pretty well, which is why he wants a girl. So Artem's going for a girl. I think Nikki doesn't really say. She's like, I could do with a boy, I could do with a girl. It doesn't really matter to her. She's just excited nonetheless. Bryan, because Nikki and Brie talk about, we could have this gender reveal party because they do everything together. Bryan's like, Brie, we discussed this. We're going to have it be a surprise. We've always wanted it to be a surprise. And he even brings up how, he brings up how Brie and himself have these discussions for hours upon days and weeks and whatever, and then all it takes sometimes is 5 minutes for Nikki to influence Brie into doing something different. And he always fears that Nikki will always have more, not control, but more influence over his wife than he himself will, So he kind of jokes about that. Not as anything serious, but he just kind of jokes about it, which kind of does seem to be the case if you see any of the interactions between Brie, Nikki, and Bryan. So the Bellas both think that they might have the same gender of baby. We don't know Brie's gender yet. They eventually decide on not doing the gender reveal party. Brie kind of goes against it, agrees with Bryan, wanting to keep it a surprise. Nikki ends up revealing it by the end of the episode. So I don't know if they're going to have the same gender of baby, but I guess we'll soon find out. Nikki also, another side story on this episode is that Nikki is also kind of scared to go through with not the baby, but the engagement and whatnot, because she's in no rush to get that engagement ring that Artem picked out for her when he engaged to her, of course, when he proposed to her on the last episode, because she's scared of commitment. Brie feels that she's afraid of that commitment. She's afraid of that engagement because it kind of paints this picture that you're going to be with this person forever. And that's not to say Nikki doesn't love Artem, because obviously she does. The issue is that anytime she's approached with the idea of commitment, she gets cold feet. So Nikki even tells Artem that things have kind of happened pretty fast, and so he doesn't really know what to think about that, because, he brings up, where's your ring? And then she's like, I didn't really expect things to happen so fast, and she's a bit, skeptical about the entire situation. Meanwhile, Bryan and Artem go shopping together, and Bryan kind of hears Artem out. Artem has a lot to say about what Nikki's going through and how hot and cold she is. And we've heard this a lot throughout the season about how, Nikki's on board with the idea one day, and then the next day she's like, I'm scared, I can't commit, blah, blah, blah. So Bryan actually reveals to Artem, he confides in him, and the cameras, I guess, that a couple things. One, that he put on a lot of weight when Brie was first pregnant with Birdie Joe years ago. He was up to 220 pounds. Which doesn't sound like a lot for wrestlers, but I'm sure in reality Bryan's 190 or something. They paint him out to be they claim that he's 220. I forgot what they bill him as in the ring, but he's definitely not 220. I'll tell you that much right. I'll tell you that much right now. But he also tells Artem that Brie is exactly like Nikki in the same sense that she can be hot one day, she can be cold some other days. She kind of goes back and forth, but he understands it. He tries not to fight it anymore because he understands their commitment issues with everything they've experienced up to this point in their lives, with their dad leaving and everything else. I mean, Brie was fucking in a relationship with John Cena for 5 or 6 years before they pulled the plug on that. So again, she has history of commitment issues, and as opposed to just fighting it, he has to maybe not go along with it, but kind of reinforce the positive. Whenever Nikki's acting negative and she doesn't really know what to do, Artem, he advises, has just got to reinforce the positive. So Nikki wants to find out the gender of Brie's baby, and they almost come close to doing so. She almost comes close to finding out what the gender is, because they go through some online website revealing what it might be. How they even got to there and how they even got, I'm not even sure how that's possible, but Nikki's about to reveal it before Bryan walks in with a cauliflower or something like that. And Bryan's like, no, Brie, we agreed on not finding out until we have the child. She's like, oh, all right, fine. And Bryan says, as much as he did earlier, that he feels that he'll always be butting heads with Nikki over what Brie wants. Because whatever Brie wants, she can easily influence her, and we can kind of see that here. Not that she's manipulating her, but they're very much the same in various ways. So whenever Nikki wants Brie to do something, it seems that Brie is, more often than not, very easygoing with doing what Nikki wants to do. Because she's probably thinking the same thing in the back of her mind, and Nikki's kind of like the devil on her shoulder. Not in a bad way, but like Brie's trying to not let, Nikki influence her as much as she is. So the Bellas go out to dinner with their dad, and they break the news to him over the phone, a conversation we don't hear about how they're pregnant, what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. I assume this is back out in Mexicali with the dad. And, they do feel bad about not inviting him to the gender reveal party, and they kind of can't because, him and the mom are on bad terms. Not terrible terms, but they're certainly not friendly, and they don't really want him there at the same place as their mom, as Kathy, so he doesn't go. They feel bad about that. But also while at dinner, they bring up the book, and I completely forgot about this, but a whole couple of episodes there in the early on in the season, of season 5 here, they talked about the book they were writing, the autobiography that's out now about Brie and Nikki's life, and how they wanted to include about their childhood, about their dad leaving and everything else. I guess that was kind of forgotten about in the last number of episodes because they were focusing on other things, other issues. But they brought it back up here, which is cool to kind of see the season go full circle. And he's not as dismissive of it as the commercials made it out to be, or as you think he would be. He's actually pretty open to the idea of them including their past in their book about him. I mean, he was a bit dismissive, and it's like, oh, that's not who I am anymore. He said that in an earlier episode whenever they broached the subject of including him and kind of what he did in their book, but you also can't ignore it. When you're writing a book like that, I mean, I guess you can, it's your book, but if you're really doing a tell-all, quote-unquote, you kind of sort of have to include that sort of stuff, at least when it comes to your own family. Then what's the point of doing the book otherwise, But anyway, so they bring up the book. He said, he goes off on this spiel about how he was abandoned as a child, and when he did what he did to the kids and kind of leaving them, or, kind of abusing their mom and whatever, he figured that, oh, my parents did this to me, I'm going to do this to my own kids. That was his mindset at the time. But at the same time, he wants to be honest with himself and with his mistakes at this point in his life, and he wants to prove himself as a father now to Brie and Nikki. And they really do think the book is going to help people going through something similar, to give those people a call who may have, that the fathers that aren't in the picture anymore and people like that. They really wish people would reach out to those type of people. And of course, every situation is different. But they say, oh, Dad, you should be a motivational speaker, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure Kathy wouldn't be thrilled to hear that after everything that he did, earlier on in his life. I'm sure motivational speaking, as good as he sounds as a talker, and I don't mean that as a wrestling thing, he has a good story, but I'm sure it wouldn't make the people that he hurt earlier on to a great degree feel too good about that. So maybe not. I know they're not saying that seriously. But anyway, so Nikki even says to herself after hearing her dad's story that Artem very well may be the first man she's ever trusted. So that's a good sign. So then we hear from Kathy and Nikki. They actually go out shopping or something, which is where Nikki brings up how skeptical she is of the whole engagement thing, how she has cold feet. This is actually where we find out that Kathy, she had mentioned something along the lines of, she had a virus at one point, and then she woke up one day and she had Bell's palsy. So if you don't know what Bell's palsy is, it's like paralysis of half of the face, I think. It's what Jim Ross has. He's had several bouts of it over the course of his life. I'm pretty sure this is the first one that Kathy has had, and it's definitely noticeable too. And it seems weird, like she was sick and then she woke up with it. Very, very, they don't really go into many details, and it's not really our business, but if you're watching this episode and you're wondering why she looks different, that's why. So anyway, she's telling Nikki to just live her life and not be so hesitant. After hearing how hesitant she is, she wants to just tell her, listen, live your life, enjoy it. This is your story, not mine. Don't look at my story with your father and how things turned out. Create your own story. So then we see Brie go get an ultrasound with Bryan. And Bryan even brings up he likes the element of surprise. He doesn't want to find out the gender of the baby beforehand. And that's when they find out that Brie has a due date of July 27th. So she must have gotten pregnant around October, which is kind of around the time where it seemed like the season dropped off a little bit. Not really. It seemed like the episode dropped off before the 6 weeks later thing earlier on in this episode. It seemed like a majority of this season was taking place in like December, because Bryan just cut his hair, and that was in like December after TLC, or maybe it was after Survivor Series, who knows. But anyway, so she must have gotten pregnant around that point. We find out from Nikki after she FaceTimes Nikki, because she's also given the option, Brie is, of delaying the birth of her baby by a week. So she could delay it by a week. Nikki's child is due August 6th. So they very well may try to time it out, and Nikki, they're like, oh, maybe if we can get ours a week late and Nikki gets hers a couple days early, they can be born on the same day. I'm not even really sure why you would want that. I know they're twins and whatever, they share the same birthday. I guess it'd be kind of cool, but like, I don't know. I'm not a parent, I'm not a mom or a dad or whatever, so I can't really say, but just, I don't know, give the child its own day, not having to share a birthday with its cousin, right? Whatever he is, yeah, they're Brody Joe, and they'd be cousins. I'm an idiot. I don't know my family tree. But anyway, so yeah, I would say, I don't know, just give the baby its own day. I mean, it's bad enough, not bad enough. I mean, it is cool they're due at the same time. But for the children's sake, if I'm a kid, I don't want to share my birthday with my cousin or my brother, unless we have to because we're twins or whatever. But if you time it out that way, just let it be natural. It's not like a fucking, oh, we're gonna time it together and make sure to I don't know. It's a child. It's a human baby. Like, you can't really time out like, oh, let's have a kid this day and that day and whatever, we'll have it on the same day. Like, it just seems like a lot. Anyway, I would think that maybe if Brie has her child first, she would be there for Nikki, or vice versa. Not having kids on the exact same day, it just seems like a lot. Anyway, that's merely my 2 cents. So anyway, Nikki shows Artem the engagement ring. She shows how fully committed she is to this relationship and getting engaged and getting married, blah, blah, blah. So whatever happens, she says. So that's when they hold the gender reveal party. They make it Mexican theme. Brie has a fucking sombrero on. It looks ridiculous, but that's what they wanted to do because they have Mexican roots and heritage, whatever. So that's what they do. I could have sworn, dude. I could have fucking sworn, and maybe I'm seeing things. And I got to go look on Twitter after I'm done recording this, because I could have sworn when I was watching this episode that I saw, of all people, I don't know why, but Frankie Muniz was there. Am I just seeing things, or was Frankie Muniz there for Malcolm in the Middle and Agent Cody Banks and Big Fat Liar? They showed him at one point, like, getting either a hat, he was all by himself, and then he was there when they did the big reveal. You see the back of his head, I think. Again, unless I'm tripping here, I don't know what show they worked on with him, or like why he would even be there. Like, I know Miz and Maurice are, like, friends with some top-notch celebrities. Not top-notch, but, like, some notable names. Like, for example, I think Miz invited the cast of Psych. Not the cast, but James Roday, who plays Sean on Psych, one of my favorite shows ever. He invited him, I think, to his, like, baby shower or something like that on Miz and Mrs. Season 1. So they might be friendly with Frankie Muniz, which seems random as all hell. But maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I didn't see Frankie Muniz. That was someone else. But anyway, I just thought I would throw that out there. If anyone knows, let me know, because it looked a lot like Frankie Muniz. I thought I was going crazy. So ultimately, they find out it's a boy. They rejoice. Artem again says that he wishes it was a girl. He didn't say that. He doesn't say that after they find out it's a boy. That would be kind of shitty. He says beforehand he wishes it was a girl. He's hoping for a girl. Doesn't matter. A child's a child. Brie says, oh, I knew it would be a boy, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. So they're having a boy. It's due out, I think, in July or August. I think Nikki said originally. So, now we know. Now we know that Nikki and Artem are having a boy. It seems like a lot of these wrestlers are having girls, which is great, but we don't have many boys, except for Matt Hardy and Rebby. They have 3 boys, which seems like a lot. I really thought, if I had to take a guess, I would have said they would have had a girl, Nikki and Artem, but a boy's great too. So yeah, they're having a boy. We did find out right after, that's when the episode ended, we did find out that they announced a new season of the show, season 6 of Total Bellas, not coming next year, but rather later on in the fall. That's right around the corner. It's already June. So I don't know if that means, like, I doubt September, maybe like October or November, I would imagine. I had read somewhere on Twitter last night that they actually already started filming for the show. Because they're pregnant right now. They're due. Their babies are due like next month or in 2 months, whatever. So I'm sure the births are going to happen on screen. Like Brie's, I think Birdie Joe's was shown on screen for either Total Bellas or Total Divas a couple of years ago. So I assume they'll do the same for Nikki's upcoming baby and Brie's upcoming baby. They'll show that. That'll probably be the first episode. And then, or maybe not. Maybe it won't be. I don't know, because maybe they've been filming for a while now. They didn't acknowledge here that Brie and Nikki are going into the WWE Hall of Fame. That was announced, I want to say, back in February. So I think this episode stopped around January, which was 5 months ago. So they've already been filming for season 6. It is coming back in the fall. They didn't say exactly when. My guess would be either October or November, because a lot of this content was filmed, again, in like October, November, December. So when we're 6 months out, I assume they're not going to start showing this stuff until September, October, November. So anyway, guys, thank you as always for checking out my review of Total Bellas and everything else I do here on the channel. I appreciate it. Be sure to check out all my other Total Bellas reviews right here on the channel. In the description box down below, there's a link to all my Total Bellas reviews on WWE Network and Chill. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. I should be back tomorrow with my SmackDown review from tonight for June 12th. Is it June 12th today? Yeah, June 12th, 2020. And then on Sunday should be my review coming up next year on Network and Chill on Sunday. My review of episode 4 of Undertaker The Last Ride documentary. So very, very exciting stuff. A lot to look forward to on WWE Network and beyond. Going forward on Fridays here on the channel, I'm not really sure what else I'll put up to kind of supplement the Total Bellas reviews, replacing the Total Bellas reviews. Probably just random content or random reviews I find, or like I still have a backlog of every Dark Side of the Ring review from Season 2. I put up the Benoit one, I put up the New Jack one, but there's been so much content lately that I've been wanting to review and whatever, that I have yet to upload the rest of that season's reviews. And there's at least 8 of them, I think. Or maybe 7, because then there were 9 episodes. 10 of them include 2 parts of the Benoit one. So those will be up at some point. I still have more things to review, book reviews, stuff like that. So either way, be sure to stay subscribed and hit that notification button to be notified every time a new episode is uploaded, or video is uploaded, that is. That being said, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.